Hey.
Hi.
So you guys, we've been home about 3 weeks since our big epic wilderness expedition. We're calling it an expedition. Anyway, so we're here in Pueblo. We're in our Airstream right now. So we had to hurry up and get back because my dad fell and broke a vertebrae. So that's what we've been doing ever since. We've been here helping him. But anyway, we wanted to talk a little bit about, and he's doing fine. I mean, he's doing okay. But anyway, we wanted to talk about our trip a little bit and just recap. And then some of you asked questions, so I'm just going to try to answer some of those. Annette and I will try to answer them. And then if you have more, just leave them in the comments. And I'm going to try to remember to put a link to a video from Alpaca Rafts. That's just a sweet little video to watch. It's how they got started and in their business and stuff like that. So if I remember, I'll put that link in the comments. So you have to look in the comments to find that.
A reminder.
Anyway, so we had an epic adventure.
True. It was amazing.
One of my favorites.
It was really something.
And the reason being is we're just so far out there. We've talked about it on the videos, so far out there in nature with no civilization, no signs of anything anywhere around us. Just pure nature, just dropped off in the middle of pure nature, which was just a treat.
Which I think if you're somebody who really values that wilderness experience, that sense of just really like, okay, I'm out here and the wildness is going on around me. This was a great trip for that.
Just a gift. Just a gift. Just that in itself. And we talked about the quiet of it. The quiet was so, like I could feel, it was like it had a heaviness to it or something, like you could feel it. It was so quiet in a good way. I mean that in a good way. You could feel it in my chest. It was like, wow, this is amazing. This is like amazing.
It was
like a new experience.
I mean, we talk about it because it was so much a presence. The quiet was a part of the trip.
It had depth to it. There was a depth to it.
It was definitely a character in the story.
Yeah.
You know.
And just moving along that river, just getting off of that gravel bar, getting in those boats and traveling on that big, powerful river every day was just, and like you experienced it. It was like this amazing feeling that you're just sitting on this, just traveling down this.
And every day, because we started near the headwaters there, so every day it builds. So yeah. Every day the river is a little bigger and a little more powerful and a little more and a little more. And by the end there, you're in this, thing that's got branches and
braids all through
there, and you're just like, whoa, this thing is huge.
Yeah, watching that river grow over that 21 days, because other rivers would run into it and other, streams, and so it just grew and grew. It was amazing.
It was.
And we felt really good the whole time. We felt confident in our boats. Our boats were amazing. When somebody asked how we felt when were the rapids scary. The rapids were not scary because once you're in the boats, you feel like they're really stable.
Yeah, and I think that was one advantage to starting out in the smaller part of the river is you really get to know your boat and you feel really comfortable with it. And, several days in, as we got to the part where there were rapids, faster moving rapids, it was like, oh, yeah, definitely. I feel like I know this boat and we can do this.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was super fun. That was really fun.
But, you're always dealing with stuff. Like we had to bring a bunch of food. We packed 28 days of food. And so it's heavy. And so we have that. The boats did great. But, so it's just different than backpacking. You are not going and resupplying. You're not going to get out. You're really far away. So if something happens, you're taking a risk. So if something happened to you, it would be something to be rescued. We had a spot. We had a GPS. We had everything we needed emergency-wise. We had everything we needed. I wouldn't have done anything different except something for my toes.
Yeah, because we'd never done that before, and we hadn't been to Alaska before or been in an Alaska river. I think it was hard to mentally know ahead of time, oh, wow, no, this foot thing is really going to be an issue. We really have to think about, because certainly we could have brought chemical warmers, or we could have gotten, electric shoe liners or those big thick felt ones that LL Bean sells, or you could have worked out. You would have had to buy like a different shoe, a different but you could have worked
solutions.
Because that was definitely the worst part.
But we didn't know because we've never done it before,
Right.
and you're not thinking how. And I've been cold. I've been a lot colder than I was on this trip.
Yeah.
But we're usually walking, and so the circulation is flowing through your body and warming you up as you go. I did not think about, and I had wool socks. I had put a couple of pairs of socks on. Our dry suits had booties. Our feet weren't wet. They weren't sitting in water.
They weren't
None of
wet.
that.
It was just
the cold temperature, and you're sitting with your legs up.
And
So if your feet are like this and the circulation's running out of your toes and you have that cold temperature, you weren't able to circulate enough blood to keep them warm.
And there's other things we could do. Like we said, well, you could stop every hour. You could stop every hour and get out and swing your arms and march around and hop up and down, get your blood really going, and just do that. Just say, okay, we're doing it this way.
Yeah.
Just to keep ourselves warmed up more.
But I had plenty of warm clothes. I never was warm in my cold in my body.
Yeah, the camping part. I mean, when it's cold and rainy and kind of that foggy stuff. I mean, it's not like you're like, oh, this is. But we weren't overly cold.
So a lot of people kept asking, why don't you build a fire? We didn't need a fire.
And
we weren't cold in camp. I wasn't even cold up my upper body paddling. My toes. The only thing that were miserable, when I was talking about misery and suffering, were my feet were frozen solid. And we had chilblains. Annette and I we didn't even talk about that on the video because we really didn't know what was going on, but our toes were swollen and red and hurting. Like even when they were warmed
you
up.
get full-blown chilblains. You're like, oh,
and
gosh.
Annette happened to be reading a book that
I was
talked about
reading a
chilblains.
book. I can't even think what it was, but it was talking about chilblains, and I was reading about it. I was like, we've got chilblains.
We have
That's for sure
chilblains.
what it is. If you read Dickens, there's always chilblains in Dickens books. Everybody's because everybody was poor and cold, but.
And that night before we finished, my toes were the worst, and I thought, ooh, yeah, this is not good. But we managed it. It was okay.
Yeah.
But chilblains take like a week to 3 weeks to heal, and we came back, and for another week, my toes were so sore. I can't even explain to you how sore they were.
And my hands probably from the my hands got it. So my hands were swollen and kind of tender. It was just for days after. It just feels icky.
And the chilblains are like being burned. So then your skin is burned and starts peeling off. Big pieces of skin were peeling off my toe. I mean, it was like a big dang deal. And the other thing that I had was...
We don't want chilblains again. Let's just say
so
that.
the only thing I would do different on the whole trip would be something for my feet. Yeah. That's it. Everything else was perfect.
Yeah,
had
we
plenty
would really focus on thinking
those
about
pogies for my hands. And
pogies worked, but
my hands were fine. Everything was great. But the other thing that happened to me is in paddling against the wind and across current, and you really had to dig down there and paddle, I pulled muscles on both ribs. And I am still healing from that. I can't do like certain sit-ups. I'm still healing from that.
Now, I didn't have that. I felt fine. My whole rest of my body. I didn't get tired from paddling. I mean, you'd feel it at the end of the day, but I felt good in that part. I felt like, oh yeah, that's not a problem. But Christy definitely first she got it on your right side.
On my left side, and then my right side.
And then she had both, which would be a drag.
Felt like knife stuck in my ribs. So when we had to go, if the river's taking you along, you're just floating along. You don't even have to paddle that hard. But if there's a wind or you're going across current and you have to dig down, I would be like, oh man.
If we had to cross the current, because we wanted to get to that other side to get water or camp or whatever, then it was it was hard. You had to really paddle and go for it. Or the wind.
Yeah.
Those windy days are just like...
But other than that, we felt really good on the water, good paddling. Our tent fell apart. We made it work. And yes, there were solutions. We had solutions.
And
we could have stayed in Barb's tent. We could have all squished in there. We could have been in that white rain tent. There's a lot of options.
We were fine. We know
it's just a nuisance.
Yeah, it is a nuisance when the wind blows and the water all comes flying in. But it certainly wasn't life-threatening.
And we didn't have a lot of bugs.
It's just uncomfortable. You're just uncomfortable, but...
And you just want it to work. I mean, it makes it easy. Unzip a door and zip it is just easier than fighting with it every single time.
That's the part you just don't want to be dealing with that, but that's okay.
Sometimes that happens. Doesn't happen very often. but it did happen, and you just make it work. We had tarps. We're not worried about it. I mean, stuff happens. I think one thing we love about about stepping into something like that is we completely trust ourselves to handle whatever comes. And so there's things that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you just trust that you're going to handle it.
But we
were
never,
fine.
I mean, I certainly never felt like, oh, this is a threat to my safety.
No.
It was just an inconvenience, an uncomfortable inconvenience. But like I've been using a Thermarest inflatable pad for, I don't know, forever. And rarely will I ever have a problem. And if I do, it's like such a slow leak that it's not a big deal. But like, that was the second or third night or whenever it was. And I have no idea, because there wasn't really anything out there that it should have gotten punctured, but it was flatter than a fritter within an hour,
And we had patches, but you can't find the holes sometimes.
Yeah.
So, it's just
I did find it now, though.
She found it when you get home and you're able to.
I used some seam seal, and I'm good to go in case I...
So, but anyway, Net dealt with that. And that was, sometimes you just have to deal with stuff. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that wrote, oh my God, I couldn't do that. I couldn't be out there like that. It doesn't look fun. It was so exciting to be so far out and away from, it was exciting to be that far out and away from everybody.
It was a great trip. And I think, if anything, if you can take two people who really wanted to do a pack raft trip but didn't have that level of experience, like if we could do that, then pretty much anybody could do that, because we certainly didn't bring we certainly brought our outdoor experience to it. So all of our time being outdoors and our risk management, all that stuff that we know how to do, we brought that. But we certainly learned on the rafts as we went, and they're so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just like fall in love with your raft every day. You're just like, oh, this thing is amazing.
And it just held up. It just held up. Somebody asked if we were worried about puncturing it. Of course you're going to pay attention, but they're tough. And we didn't have a lot of obstacles that are sticking out there. There's some rivers you're doing with big branches. We didn't have a lot of obstacles. But you are kind of paying attention, but they're tough. Nothing happened to those boats.
Yeah, they have, the bottom of them is a very durable material, because you do end up having to drag it across rocks a little bit when you're in the water and doing all of that.
And
they're fine. I mean, they look like new.
Our biggest worry about the boat was, just the zipper holding up, and it did fine.
And that really wasn't an issue, because we lubed it as we went. We did exactly what they said to do, and it was fine.
It was fine. Not one problem.
Not one problem with it.
I mean, just durable.
Some of the other zippers in our life were, like Christy catching her jacket in her dry suit was a kind of a pain, or the 10 zippers obviously.
No, the boats were great.
But the boats were rock solid, really.
Barb had told the story about this guy she was with, and you know to do this if you get a pack raft like that. But when it's in the sun, it can expand, and the boats can explode, can just blow the seams out of it. So we were aware of that too. So there were a couple of days when it was really hot at the beginning. When we stopped, we'd let a little bit of air out. But those are things that you just learn when you get one, and pay attention. But anyway, it was just fabulous. It was just a great trip. It just had a great flow to it.
It was a great trip, and it felt like we were out there for a long time.
I felt like I really did something. You know what I mean? Like I was on this amazing expedition where you want it to be hard, you want it to be fun, but you want to be challenged sometimes too. And you're going to be out there, you're going to have stuff. So you're going to have the weather, you're going to have the cold, you might have days the wind was the worst. You're just going to have that, but all of it was just kind of like this, like part of what we like we want to be challenged and see and handle it, like, and face something and then deal with it in the moment, and believe that we can.
Right. It's not a controlled experience. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, so you're in there and things are going on and you're dealing. That's part of the fun, right? And it was awesome. And it was great. By the time we got to the end, we were ready to be finishing, and
which is perfect.
Meeting the people in the Noatak village was just a fabulous way to end the trip, because you're put into that environment where people are living such a different life, so different than the life that we live.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting. They were incredibly sweet and kind, and Bob, who was working there, who contracts with the company that supplies the power for all, I think 58 of the villages that they, amazing. He was so super cool and nice to us and helped us, and
Amazing.
you get help on these trips. You need help, and you get help. He was a huge help.
It was just so fun and so
fun.
amazing. And then Bernice, she's 84 years old, rolling around up there on her ATV. She'd check on us every day, and she said, next time you're here, you're staying with me. She's so sweet.
She was cool. I mean, but that's all like something really different. Like, you're not going to have that experience probably ever again, but it's an experience that's out there to have, right?
Yep, and to end in this little tiny Inuit village in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
And to see that, how they live, they're not in isolation because they have each other, and they also can fly in and out, and they have their boats that they can use. Just to see that difference of how they are separated from Anchorage or Fairbanks, or how that's a different place.
Totally. And the history there.
Yeah.
The history of that river.
Yeah. Anyway, very cool. It was just a super cool experience.
And Annette was talking about, the other day we did this interview with this woman, and she was talking about how, you think about the people that have traveled that highway.
The river highway.
I mean, the river highway. You think about the people that have gone before us.
I really thought about that when I was out there. Like, I tried to imagine, like, say 2,000 years ago, people are making boats and floating that river down, and you're like, gosh, I wonder, what did they look like? What did their boat look like?
Yeah.
What was happening? How did they keep, and then I read some different stuff about how, what they use to keep their feet warm, and, really cool stuff.
And they travel it on when it's frozen, too. They'll travel on that river as it's frozen over.
Obviously, you can come against the current when it's frozen, which would be amazing, too.
Just incredible, you guys. Just incredible. It was just fabulous. I'm going to go through some of these questions that you guys have left for us, because we can kind of talk about that too. But I'll just I went through and just wrote some of them down. I probably missed some of them. But so somebody asked how we planned this trip. So, when Barb asked us to do this trip, she had already read about it and knew about it. But then we just research. Whenever we are going to plan a trip, we just get online and start researching everything we can find. We read information on it, blogs, different videos.
I also, because you have to take a bush plane to get there, one of your first things you do is call the providers of those bush planes, because that part of your trip is contingent on them getting you there.
Right, and you have to make those in advance.
Make that plan in advance and kind of understand how that works.
Yeah. So you have, but there's a lot of information. So on any trip, you just start reading and researching and looking at maps, but there's a lot of info out there. Somebody asked, how far did we travel per day? When we looked at food supply, like what we had, we realized we needed to do 15 miles a day to match the food as a base. And once we were doing that pretty easily and really kind of shooting for like 20 miles a day, we knew that we were going to make it in relation to our food. And so that's kind of what we look at.
On Barb's Garmin, on her map, it kept track of mileage. She didn't feel like it was totally accurate, but for ballparking it kept track of mileage. It was good enough.
Yeah. So we would travel, I don't know, we upped it to like 20. But you could go a lot further. I mean, didn't take us very long to get 20. You could rest and just keep going. And plus the nights were not dark, and you could go at night if you wanted to. But we wanted to just enjoy it too and hang out and
be out there.
One time we saw the wolverine when we were sitting out on the riverbank. You're able to watch for things.
It takes a lot of effort to get there. So you want to enjoy that environment. You want to say, oh, I'm here. I really want to enjoy being out here. And experience that. Mm-hmm. And when you got out of the boat, which was usually pretty early in the day, you could just set up your stuff, and then you had time to really enjoy just that expansive wildness and that incredible quiet, and just like be in it, soak it in.
Yeah. How deep was the river? It was depends on where you were, but the headwaters, it was more shallow. It was deep enough, but you would hit some shallow spots, and you'd have to walk your boat over it, or you'd look for shallow. You'd go around it, but then as the river went on, it got deeper and deeper, and I wouldn't have a clue how deep it was.
I don't know
really
either,
deep.
but by the end, it's a really big river.
So somebody asked, were we worried about snagging our boats on something? We watched for that. We weren't that worried about that. I think we answered that.
And we did
already.
have our emergency patch kit stuff. We carried all that stuff. So,
but we never did, and we never had a hole to patch. So, what kinds of food were you eating?
I think we talked about on the trip that we're eating freeze-dried stuff, and then our snacks are like cheese sticks and dried fruit, nuts. A lot of nuts.
And we did the freeze-dried. We don't like it that much, but it was a long trip with 28 days. You had to go light, and really the food for us when we do that, it's just fuel. It wasn't really enjoyable. We weren't like trying to treat ourselves to anything. It's really fuel, and you just eat it and move on.
Yeah, and that we're not going to come home and be like, oh, I'm just craving some freeze-dried eggs. Or, that's not going to happen.
Oh, but it worked.
So
what class? Okay, so the river is class 1 and 2.
They rate it. I think what they do is they say it's 2+.
Yeah.
And then in there they say depending on rain, all these different conditions, it could be class 3. It could go up to 3 or whatever. So they call it 2+.
Yeah.
And we certainly had some really fun rapids. I mean, really fun, where you felt like, oh my gosh,
totally doable.
And big waves at different points. Where the waves are like, 3, at least 3 feet high. You're like, oh, this is
wild.
Was
fun.
So that,
so
fun. That's all part of the thing. We never dumped. We never ever got dumped out of our boats. We were, we had all the stuff, the life jackets, the dry suits, everything was, secured in the boat, but we never did.
Even when I got caught in that whirlpool, I never felt like my boat was going to turn over. It was just spinning me around there. It was the current, but I never felt like the boat was going to turn over.
Exactly.
Let's see. What are the night skies like? Where they were light?
Yeah, you don't get the huge star action going on because
it was that time of year.
Light.
Yeah.
Toward the end of the trip, there was kind of a real pretty dusky kind of darkness where you could see some stars and planets and the moon. I mean, you could see that stuff.
Maybe for a few hours,
Yeah.
But I mean, it was light. You just go out of the tent in the middle of the night if you had to go to the bathroom. It's just totally light. Didn't use our headlamps at all.
Yeah, never one time did I use my headlamp.
So somebody asked, how was it to go to the bathroom with those dry suits? So you could get a dry suit that zips behind for women, like it's around your butt back here, but it's like a flap. But those zippers are so hard to unzip.
And that might be a partner
that you would
thing.
probably have to have somebody help you. We didn't have it. Annette and I had men's suits, so we had the zipper in the front. But
mine didn't have any.
I think Barb had the one in the back, but she said it's just so hard to use that you just have to unzip, pull it over your head, and just down to your waist.
You have to, plan ahead a little bit. Don't wait till the last second because it is not a last second kind of thing.
Oh no! If you had a bathroom emergency, it would be really bad.
But that never happened either. Mm-mm. So.
But on those rainy, cold days, it's so hard to get that suit off. That was hard, painful. But anyway, that was not a big deal. Somebody asked why we did rafts over canoes.
So there are inflatable canoes. You'd have to take an inflatable because you have to have an inflatable to use those bush planes, right? So
it's so great. These rafts are so great that you can roll it up small, stick them in a bag. It weighs like 8 pounds, and you carry it in your bag on the plane.
Right.
It's just easy to travel with.
I think the development of pack rafts, the way that pack rafts have come so far in the last several years, I think most people would go with pack rafts.
Yeah.
And
then the same person asked, did you need a dry suit? I would say for Alaska, you would need a dry suit.
I would too.
Now,
partly because the water is very, very cold. So if you did dump, or if you I fell in the water one time just walking my boat over to a different, to pull up in a different spot. You're totally good. You're just like, oh, I just fell in the water and I'm completely dry.
And the greatest thing, so you have the booties with it. So you're walking in the water to get your to get in your boat. So those booties are in your shoes there, totally dry. So your feet stayed dried the whole time. I don't know what we would have done if our feet were soaking wet and that cold. But feet were dry. But also, when it rained, you didn't get wet because your dry suit kept you dry, and that was fabulous. There was couple of mornings that we put our dry suit on in that white tent and packed up with our dry suit just to keep ourselves dry.
Yeah, the dry suit is, I would say, a necessary expense. I would always use it
in an Alaska trip for some.
If I was doing a shoulder season, here in the regular, like in New Mexico on the Gila or something, the spring or the fall, I would be like, oh, I'm using my dry suit.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's see. This person asked, who was worse, the bear or Pesky?
Well, that's a pretty easy answer.
Easy.
That bear was darn cute.
Yeah.
I mean,
We were really entertained by that little bear.
Yeah. We were also not wanting, of course we wanted to.
Once it was all said and done and he was gone, we were like, wow, that was an experience. But everything worked. We had everything in place. Everything worked that we had to keep our food safe, and we applied what we knew to do, and and it worked for us. So we were lucky.
Yeah.
And we were treated to this cute little bear. He wasn't little, but he was little for a grizzly. I think he was young, but he was big. Because when he stood up over there, he was big.
When you see their claws, you're like, oh, that's a serious thing.
Let's see here.
But the boat's easy to maneuver, yes. The boats are easy to maneuver. The only hard part is if it's super windy and you're feeling like you're pushing, not like they're swirling all around, but you can definitely feel the difference in your forward progress.
And they're easier to maneuver full of weight, I think.
Yeah.
When they're light, they're blown around. They're real light.
I think that they get a little easier when you load them.
Yeah. Somebody asked, does the river rise and cover the gravel bars? Yes, it does.
Yeah, we had that for many days in there after that big flood. So you're draining that whole drainage basin. It's huge. And so all of those different tributaries and little creeks and bigger rivers are draining into that. So we were on some big water. It was like, and the water coming in from like some of those rivers was just mud brown and
with
rugged,
sticks
coming down,
floating in.
So yeah, there was definitely some times when, and that's another reason why the fire thing, everything is like muck. There's not trees, so all of those bushes, the smaller alder bushes and willow bushes, have been underwater. I mean, it's all soaked, like you go to break a stick and it splashes you in the face kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we camped on those bars. It didn't come flooding in there and cover them all of a sudden. The river would rise slowly, and that's why we would watch that. And then it would drain, it would go down also. So you'd mark it and you could see that. So we didn't feel like we were in danger of being washed away when we were out there.
Yeah,
but
no, we were, and you look for ones that have a little height to them, and you look at.
I mean, we paid attention, but we got to where we needed to be.
Yeah.
So people ask about our mapping system. So Barb had a Garmin. I think she said it was a Garmin 67. She had Gaia maps downloaded. The Garmin gives us mileage each day, like Annette was talking about. It gives us weather, so we knew weather, and it was pretty accurate, actually. And then I had Onyx map. Annette had
organic maps.
So we had some different maps that we were using.
You could definitely use them because you can see where you are. They still show a spot where you are. So,
yeah.
In that larger sense, you can say, "Oh, here we are."
Yeah. Let's see here. What was the water temperature? I don't know.
The water temp, from what I've read, the water temp is like 40 degrees. That's pretty much what it is in the summertime there. It's cold.
Are the rafts self-bailing? Yes, our rafts were self-bailing rafts, which means when the water comes into the inside of the raft, it leaks out the bottom and drains out the bottom.
You don't ever have to pull over and bail.
No,
we loved them. We loved the self-bailing.
Loved them. And we have this blow-up seat floor, and then you had a blow-up foot thing, so you were out of the water. You didn't have water. You weren't sitting in water, and it kept you warm because it was really blown up. I mean, I wasn't cold sitting on the floor of that.
It's like yay thick, so you're sitting above the level of the layer of water that's in there.
How do you upload your videos? And somebody asked how I like the Garmin. I mean the GoPro. I like the GoPro a lot. It helped. I couldn't zoom up on stuff. Like there were some animals. If I had if I was hiking and I could zoom up with my camera, I would have. But but it made it easy and to do.
And keep your hands free.
And I was able, yeah, keep my hand. For that, I couldn't have done very much with my phone, but I could use Bluetooth and Bluetooth it over to my phone and edit my videos while I was out there. I could edit them, which was really nice. But I couldn't upload any of them. There was no service, so I had to wait until I got home to do that. But it worked fine. Somebody asked about chargers. I brought like 5 anchors. I hardly used them because we had solar panels that worked. And so on those sunny days, and every 3 days we'd have sun, and we would charge everything up. I'd charge my phone and my GoPro.
A real basic triptych, folding solar panel that was, I think, 15 watts or whatever.
Yeah.
It worked great.
It was great.
It was straightforward. It didn't have it didn't have a bank built into it. It was strictly just a charger thing, and it worked great. It was pumping it out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of daylight.
Yeah.
Even when it's, you still have a lot of hours of daylight.
Yeah. Yes. And I would charge my phone and my GoPro, and that would last for 3 days. And then we'd have more sun. I'd just charge it back up. So I hardly had to use those anchors. But anyway, we brought a bunch. And because Barb used it more because she was using her map all the time on her Garmin and looking at it, especially when we got to the braids.
Right.
And so she would have to charge, and then she had her phone using this map that took more battery. So she was charging, she had a need to really charge her stuff.
She was keeping track daily on the river. That was kind of an extra responsibility that she took on of keeping track of us on the river. So
somebody asked if we were sore from paddling. No, you kind of want to get out and walk around, though. You get kind of tired of sitting and kind of stiff when you get out, and we just
you feel it, but you're trying to do all the things so that you're not just using your shoulders.
I could feel my shoulders tired,
yeah.
And like when I pull those muscles, I could feel it. But really, sitting that long, the boats are easy to get in and out of. You could just sit on the side of them and they don't even flip over. It's amazing.
Just hop into them,
But I could feel my hips were stiff when I'd get up, especially in the cold, and then we just walk around the gravel bar. But it wasn't bad. Nothing bad about it. Nothing difficult. Somebody asked if we have the pack rafting bug. Will you do more adventures? Yes.
I think definitely. And we also, before we left, we were just trying to get practice a little bit, and we even just took it to the reservoir. They were fun just as a regular kayak.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
We'll
use them.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, why can't you drink the river water? Because we kept showing how we stopped and got water. We did at the beginning, but then as the river was growing and all this, and like the flood and the dirty water's running into it, it gets it really turbulent, and then it stirs up that glacial silt stuff, and then that clogs you could see it's not clear, and it clogs our filters. So then if we got a little stream coming in, it wasn't as stirred up and it was clear.
Yeah, totally just about the amount of particulate in the water.
But you could drink it. It would just, your thing would get clogged. The campfire thing we talked about already. We didn't feel like we needed one. I was going to say, too, we don't really do campfires when we're doing these trips. It takes a lot of effort. There's a lot of reasons why we don't. For one, this one would have been hard to get stuff in a lot of places, but also, just to build a fire ring, to start the fire. We don't stay up that late.
Then you have to disassemble your fire ring and scatter everything out.
Put water on it, get it out. We don't really like the smoke all over us.
You don't want to leave an ashy, charred campsite for somebody else either. You'd want to
at least a scar. We one time on a day hike in Colorado got benighted where we got off trail, we ran out of daylight, and we had to just camp, just with our day pack, with nothing. And we built a fire, and we sat in front, we had that fire going all night.
It was about this time of year.
It was September, and it was cold, but so that was the only time that we felt like we had to build a fire to save ourselves. So anyway, we're not big campfire people, but if we needed to save ourselves, but we didn't need to, because if we got to camp and you have your sleeping bag, you can get in your tent.
Fires when you're car camping, or fires for that, are much more practical. Or when you're like in a state park and they have fire, we do fires then. But
and then somebody asked why the Noatak River, why we chose this. Well, Barb introduced the Noatak to us, but if you start reading about it, the reason why we felt like let's do it is,
well, the Gates of the Arctic National Park is this huge expanse of wild, and then there's the Noatak Preserve, and there's the It's a scenic river, so it's like one of the longest rivers that you can float. 350 miles that we did. You could go on a little ways if you went down to the bay, but it's just this opportunity to be out there and be out there for a long time and float every day on a river.
There's not a lot of places that you can get out like that. I mean,
and you don't have, because when you're up there in the tundra, you don't have to worry about trees falling down over into the river. There are no trees. So it's a really doable river just based on where it is, as far as the clean shot of the river coming down. And what you have to navigate is just beautiful and easy.
Somebody asked how long it took us to tear down camp.
We got really good at
Really
this.
good at it. I don't know. Hour.
Yeah.
I mean, if that. I mean.
So to take everything apart and to load everything into the boats, I would say, we got less than an hour we were getting down there.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. And somebody asked, did we use, because in our first videos with the alpaca rafts, you use those bags and you get the air in them and you roll them down. We used the pump. I didn't use the bag one time.
We got this little electric pump that was easy. It was easy to recharge it. I mean, we use the bag here. We know how to use it. It
just was
super
fast.
Nice backup, because it totally works too.
Yeah. So that worked. That little pump worked. So anyway, somebody asked if we lost weight. Probably not. Maybe a couple pounds here and there.
Maybe. Just because you're limited on how often you're eating and how much you're eating, and nothing is that appetizing. Like, it's not like sitting down and having, potato chips and cottage cheese, which I love. But,
It's yeah. Somebody asked what model we got of our pack rafts. We got the narwhal.
Yeah, we both have a narwhal. Barb's is like a next level up as far as ability to do some harder rapids, and hers is called the Mage. And we could tell when all three of us were paddling, and we're paddling against the wind. Hers was definitely having an easier time of it. So hers is right. Well, she had more stuff, I think. Rode a little lower in the water, a little more streamlined, and
Yeah.
And she really liked hers too. So all hers was self-bailing as well, and we love those things.
Loved them.
We loved them. I mean, honestly, what an amazing product.
Yes. So anyway, the last question that somebody asked, how did we do together as a group? We did fine.
Yeah.
And the thing I would say about this, so whenever you do, we didn't know Barb at all. Met her a couple of times, talked to her on the phone. We stepped into this adventure. But when you choose, Annette and I have been doing adventures forever, and we have our own system, and we have a system that works well together. And we're very similar. We get up. If we want about the same amount of miles, same pace, we're just easy. It's easy. And so you have a system that you're just used to. And when you choose to go into a group, if it's 1 or 5 people, whatever it is, the dynamics of your system changes. So you know that going in. So we, because we've done a lot of stuff ourselves, but then if we have a friend coming along, we have different people that have joined us. I mean, you have a different, you have a different dynamic.
Yeah.
So we just go in knowing that. You kind of give up your system in a way to meld a different system with this person. And everybody has to kind of give up their system to meld a system together.
We decide individually and together, we decide no matter what, we're going to make this work.
Yeah.
You're out there, you're all together. It's going to work. We're going to make it work.
Yep. And you just have to, I don't give up on safety. If I feel like I'm with somebody that's doing something unsafe, I mean, you're not going to compromise on that. But a lot of times you're just compromising. So for an example, if we get up and hiking, when we were hiking, we get up at 5 and start hiking, and you're hiking with somebody who wants to start at 9, you might say, well, can we start at 7? I mean, you're compromising stuff. So each person is kind of, that's part of growth too, and growing, and a challenge too, is to step into a situation like that and see if you can check yourself and work that piece and make and be successful in it. And we did fine. We did great. And then you bond in that too, because you're all three of us are going through this situation together, and we're working together to do it.
And we believe that when you're doing something in a group, you have a responsibility to the group to bring your best self, bring your best adult self, take care of your emotional needs, take care of yourself, be there, be in that highly functioning adult self, and bring that to the group. That's you're responsible to the group to do that. Each person is responsible to that. Yeah. And that
and be flexible and be really open helps. And you got to work that piece. Yeah. So anyway, it was fun. And we sometimes you just want to go do your system and not have, we very rarely do guided tours because it's a group of people. And even though we love people and love meeting people, as far as adventures, we kind of like to do our own system because we like our system. That's why a lot of times we just plan our trips and go, because it's just we just want that flow of that. But then there's times where it's good to challenge yourself to step out there and do something different. So that was a really great part of the trip, an important part, and it was great. It was wonderful.
We all did well.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that about wraps it up, huh, Nettie?
Yeah, that was long. It's a lot of stuff.
But if you have any other questions, just write them and we'll try to answer them somehow, writing back to you or whatever.
Totally would encourage you to try a pack raft. They're really fun. Even if you did, shorter day trips or just, go out for a few hours. Super fun. Just a great feeling of an experience. I think you'd love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming with us on this adventure and floating down the Noatak with us. And we're not sure what we're doing next. We have zero plan because we just don't know what our life's doing right now. Yeah. So we'll just let you know at some point what's up. Right now I'm going to focus on just what we're doing here in Pueblo and my dad and we'll see.
Yeah.
See what happens.
It's every day. You do it a day at a time.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll be outside.
It's good too.
We've been biking and walking. We always do. We hike and bike. So we'll continue to do that and lift weights. And
when we come home, we start doing our weight workouts and our, biking and our walking. So it takes actually a little bit of time to get back in shape to be home, because it's kind of harder often.
And we know more adventures are coming. We stay in shape for them. Yeah. We just don't have a plan yet because we're not sure where we're going to be when. So, all right. Check in later, you guys. Have a good fall. Get out there. Enjoy it. Outside. All right. Yee-hee.